There is a controversial warning that contradicts almost everything men have been told about their sexual health. You've likely heard the old adage, use it or lose it. It suggests that without frequent activity, the system shuts down. But when we analyze the insights from experts like Dr. Laura regarding testosterone and aging, a different, more alarming reality emerges. The warning is stark. For the aging male, the habit isn't keeping you strong. It might be the very thing making you weak. When we talk about this, weakness, we aren't just using a scare tactic. We are talking about a physiological reality, a desensitized system where your androgen receptors are exhausted and your dopamine baseline is shattered. Dr. Laura's analysis suggests that what many men consider a healthy release is actually a significant biological tax that the older body struggles to pay. So, what actually happens if you stop? If you go cold turkey for 30 days, does your testosterone skyrocket or does it crash? Does your erectile quality return or do you risk stagnation? Today, we are breaking down the exact day-by-day timeline of a 30-day reset. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how a month of abstinence rewires your hormones, your brain, and yes, the physical strength of your erection. To understand why hitting the brakes is necessary, we have to look at the biological currency of the male body. When you are 20 years old, your recovery systems are essentially bulletproof. You can expend energy and replenish it almost instantly. But as Dr. Laura and leading endocrinologists point out, the rules of the game change drastically as you age. The strategy that worked in your youth becomes the very mechanism that drains your vitality in your later years. Let's look at the hard numbers. After age 30, a man's testosterone levels naturally decline by about 1% per year. That is the standard medical baseline. However, lifestyle factors can accelerate this decline significantly. This brings us to the concept of vitality cost. We often think of ejaculation as a free event, but biologically, it is expensive. Every time you ejaculate, your body expels a significant amount of micronutrients, specifically zinc, magnesium, and selenium. These aren't just random minerals. They are the very building blocks required for testosterone production. Dr. Laura emphasizes that for an aging man, this isn't just a harmless release, it is a depletion event. You are expending a cocktail of neurochemicals and nutrients that your body now produces much more slowly than it did decades ago. Then there is the critical factor of the refractory period. This is the mandatory recovery time your body needs before it can effectively perform again. In your youth, this refractory period might last only a few minutes or hours. But in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, this biological window naturally stretches. It can take days for your neurochemistry to fully reset. The weakness mentioned in the title occurs when men try to maintain the frequency of their youth with the biology of their older years. By forcing frequent release before the body has fully recovered its hormonal baseline, you are essentially overdrawing your biological bank account. You prevent your testosterone levels from ever stabilizing at a high point. Instead of resting to restore, you are draining the tank faster than the pump can refill it. This chronic depletion creates a state of fatigue that isn't just sexual, it becomes systemic, affecting your energy, your mood, and your physical strength. But the drain on your nutrients is only half the story. The real reason why stopping for 30 days can be so transformative and why the habit causes such profound weakness lies deep within the brain's neurochemistry. To understand this, we need to look at the antagonistic relationship between two powerful hormones, testosterone and prolactin. Dr. Laura's insights often point to the delicate balance required for male drive. Biologically, immediately after orgasm, your body floods with prolactin. This is known as the satiety hormone. It is the chemical signal that tells a man, the mission is complete, rest now. While this is natural, prolactin acts as a direct inhibitor to dopamine and, crucially, it suppresses testosterone production. It puts the sexual system to sleep. Here is where the problem arises for the modern male. In a cycle of chronic, daily masturbation, you are keeping your prolactin levels artificially elevated. You are essentially keeping your system in a permanent state of shutdown. Your body never gets the clear signal to ramp up testosterone production because it is constantly bathing in the hormone designed to suppress it. This creates a chemical environment where ambition, drive, and erection quality are physically unable to peak. However, the most damaging aspect, and the one Dr. Laura warns about most fervently regarding modern habits, is the destruction of the dopamine reward system. Dopamine is the molecule of motivation. It is what makes you pursue goals. When you engage in the habit, especially if it is paired with high-speed internet pornography, you are flooding your brain with a level of dopamine that our ancestors never experienced. This triggers a phenomenon known as the Coolidge effect, the biological drive for novelty. But because the brain cannot handle this constant flood of superstimulation, it engages a defense mechanism. It downregulates your dopamine receptors. Think of it like listening to loud music. Eventually, you go deaf to the noise. Your receptors numb themselves. This is the precise definition of the weakness we highlighted in the thumbnail. It is not that your penis is broken. It is that your brain is deaf. Because your receptors are fried from overstimulation, normal stimuli, like a real partner or your own imagination, no longer register. The signal from the brain to the body is weak, resulting in erections that are soft, unreliable, or difficult to maintain. You haven't lost the physical ability, you have lost the neural sensitivity required to trigger it. Dr. Laura suggests that this frying of the androgen and dopamine receptors is a primary cause of age-related sexual dysfunction that is often misdiagnosed as low T, when in reality, it is high desensitization. Stopping for 30 days is the only way to convince the brain to turn the volume back up. So, what happens when you actually pull the plug? If you decide to apply this protocol, you immediately enter phase 1, the struggle. This covers the first 7 days, and it is vital to understand that for most men, this is where the battle is lost because the physical feedback can be confusing. You have likely heard of the famous study from 2003 conducted by researchers at Zhejiang University. It is the most cited piece of literature in this field for a reason. The researchers found that when men stopped masturbating, their testosterone levels remained relatively steady for the first few days. But on exactly day 7, something incredible happened. Serum testosterone levels spiked by approximately 145% compared to the baseline. Many men see this data point and think, great, I will feel like Superman in a week. But the reality is often more complex, and if you aren't prepared for it, you will relapse. While your hormones are initiating a massive surge, your brain is simultaneously entering a state of panic. Remember the dopamine desensitization we discussed? When you cut off that steady supply of superstimulus, your brain enters a state of withdrawal similar to a substance addiction. This leads to a phenomenon often referred to in the community as the flat line. Paradoxically, right around the time your testosterone is spiking, you might feel a sudden, confusing drop in libido, energy, and mood. You might feel weaker, not stronger. You might find that you have zero drive whatsoever. This is the trap. Dr. Laura's observations on behavioral patterns suggest that this crash isn't a sign that your system is failing. It is a sign that your system is finally detoxing. Your brain is screaming for its fix. It is trying to trick you into relapsing to get that easy flood of neurochemicals back. You may feel irritable, anxious, or incredibly bored. This is the weakness leaving the body. Understanding this phase is critical. Feeling dead down there during the first week isn't a sign that stopping is bad for you. It is the definitive proof that you are dependent. Your body is simply beginning the painful process of recalibration, and you have to push through the silence to get to the music. As you cross the 10-day mark and push toward day 20, you enter phase 2, the reset. If the first week was about surviving the withdrawal, this phase is about witnessing the repair. This is where the weakness in the system begins to reverse, not because your testosterone is infinitely climbing, but because your body is finally relearning how to use it. It is important to correct a common misconception here. The massive testosterone spike of day 7 does not stay at 145% forever. The body seeks homeostasis, so serum levels will eventually level off. However, this is where the concept of androgen receptor upregulation comes into play. Dr. Laura's analysis of hormonal health suggests that the absolute number of your testosterone level matters less than your body's sensitivity to it. Think of your androgen receptors like a filter that has been clogged by years of overuse. During days 8 through 20, because you aren't flooding the system with cheap dopamine and constant prolactin, those receptors begin to clean themselves off. They upregulate. This means that even if your testosterone levels stabilize, the impact of that testosterone on your body intensifies. You get more mileage out of every molecule. The first and most obvious sign of this internal repair is the return of nocturnal penile tumescence, commonly known as morning wood. For many aging men, this natural occurrence disappears or becomes infrequent, which is a major red flag for vascular and nerve health. Its return during this phase is a critical victory. It signals that the parasympathetic nervous system is healing. It proves that blood flow is improving and, crucially, that the penis is no longer in a state of chronic exhaustion. The tissue is becoming responsive again. The weakness is fading. Simultaneously, you will likely notice a shift that extends beyond the bedroom. This is often described in anecdotal reports as the glow, but there is a grounded biological explanation for it. Dr. Laura has pointed out that when the body is in a state of hormonal balance, and when it is retaining vital nutrients like zinc and selenium rather than expelling them daily, the quality of the skin and eyes improves. During this phase, the brain fog that characterizes the flatline lifts, replaced by a steady, aggressive energy. This isn't the frantic, nervous energy of a caffeine rush. It is a grounded, masculine drive. You may find your voice deepening slightly, not because your vocal cords changed overnight, but because you are speaking with a more relaxed, confident cadence regulated by a balanced nervous system. You are no longer chasing a dopamine hit. You are beginning to embody the drive that the dopamine is supposed to fuel. However, we have to be realistic. For many men over 40, simply resetting the brain's dopamine receptors is only half the battle. If your vascular system is compromised by age, or if a specific enzyme in your body, often called the boner killer, is blocking blood flow, willpower alone won't fix the plumbing. There is a natural way to reverse this physical blockage without resorting to dangerous pills or injections. It involves a specific purple hardening tonic that you can make at home in just 7 seconds. It's designed to target the root cause of dysfunction that most doctors overlook. I found a presentation that explains exactly how this nutrient blend works to clear out the hose and restore stiffness naturally. Take a moment right now to point your phone's camera at the QR code on the screen. It will take you directly to that video. I've also pinned the link to the top of the comments section below. If you want to combine this 30-day dopamine reset with a physical vascular reset, you need to see this. By the time you reach the final stretch, days 21 through 30, you enter what we call the new baseline. This is where the experiment transitions from a physical struggle into a fundamental shift in how you operate as a man. The withdrawal symptoms of the first week are gone. The repairs of the second week are solidifying, and now you begin to reap the compounded interest of your discipline. Physiologically, a fascinating process occurs during this phase regarding the expensive biological fluid we discussed earlier. Because you are no longer expelling these vital nutrients daily, your body initiates a process of reabsorption. The high concentration of zinc, magnesium, and bioavailable proteins found in semen does not simply stagnate. The body breaks it down and recycles it back into the bloodstream to nourish the brain and nervous system. You are effectively giving yourself a super shot of nutrition from within. You are literally retaining your vitality rather than flushing it away. This biological conservation fuels a profound psychological shift. Dr. Laura's perspective on male drive is particularly relevant here. We often see a phenomenon where the sexual urge transforms. The brain, now healed from the dopamine dependency, stops screaming for the quick, cheap fix of a pixelated screen. Instead, that raw energy is transmuted. Men consistently report that the urge to masturbate transforms into a restless urge to build, to work, or to exercise. The hunger is still there, but it is no longer a hunger for escape. It is a hunger for conquest. And finally, let's answer the fear triggered by the thumbnail. Does stopping make you weak? By day 30, you will realize the absolute inverse is true. Your system isn't weak because you haven't used it, it is primed because you have finally let it rest. Because the desensitization is gone and the chronic prolactin fog has lifted, your erectile quality is likely higher than it has been in years. You have traded the constant, weak, semi-erections of a hyperstimulated addict for the strong, reliable capacity of a healthy man. You haven't lost function. You have optimized it by clearing out the noise. The hardware works better because the software has been rebooted. Now, before you decide to swear off sexual activity forever, we must address the medical counterargument. This is the danger zone where many men misunderstand the message. You have likely read the studies stating that frequent ejaculation, often cited as roughly 21 times a month, can lower the risk of prostate cancer. This leads to the use it or lose it defense, suggesting that if you stop, your machinery will rust over. It is crucial to clarify that Dr. Laura's perspective and the biological reality we are discussing today is not an endorsement of permanent, lifelong celibacy. The goal of this 30-day protocol is not to turn you into a monk. It is to break the cycle of compulsion. The nuance that often gets lost in the headlines is the difference between healthy, oxytocin-rich sexual activity with a partner and the isolated, high-frequency drainage of compulsive masturbation. For the aging male, these are two chemically different events. Dr. Laura argues that while stagnation is not ideal, the modern man is suffering far more from depletion than from stagnation. If you are over 40, your body likely does not require a daily release to maintain prostate health. In fact, forcing a release when your libido is low simply because you think you should, or worse, out of boredom, is counterproductive. It trains your body to perform without passion and reinforces the very desensitized state we are trying to cure. Think of this 30-day period as a strategic maintenance break. You wouldn't drive a car for 100,000 miles without stopping to change the oil. Stopping for a month does not cause atrophy. It allows the prostate and the seminal vesicles to rest and regenerate. The danger lies in the extremes. Total lifelong suppression is unnatural, but chronic, daily depletion is destructive. You are looking for the middle ground, a potent, high testosterone baseline where you control the urge, rather than the urge controlling you. Ultimately, this 30-day experiment serves as a diagnostic tool for your masculinity. It is a reset button, not necessarily a life sentence. The fear that stopping will make you weak is a myth rooted in insecurity. As we have explored through the lens of Dr. Laura's insights and the biology of aging, the true weakness comes from the inability to say no to your own impulses. If you decide to take on this challenge, understand that you are engaging in a physiological audit. You are testing your baseline. If you find the first week excruciating, if you find your mood crashing and your anxiety spiking, you have your answer. You aren't just doing it for health, you are using it to self-medicate. To maximize the results of this 30-day reset, you cannot simply remove the habit and sit in a void. You must replace the depletion with construction. Medical consensus and fitness experts agree that if you combine this 30-day retention period with heavy resistance training and prioritize sleep, you create a synergistic effect. The testosterone that is no longer being suppressed by chronic prolactin spikes is now available to repair muscle tissue and burn fat. You are essentially closing the leak in your fuel tank while simultaneously upgrading the engine. By day 30, you will not have a weak penis. You will have a sensitized, responsive system and a brain that has relearned the value of real drive over cheap pleasure. You will have proven that you are the master of your biology, not a slave to your dopamine receptors. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever attempted a 30-day reset? Did you experience the flatline or the surge? Leave a comment below with your experience. Let's get a real conversation going about what actually happens when men decide to take control. If you found this analysis helpful, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. We are going deeper into the science of aging and vitality in the next video. Until then, stay strong.